Hello, everybody. So I wanted to let you know that we are starting a new podcast at Trinity. It's called Trinity Regathering. And so what we're going to be doing is once a week, hopefully, for the next 2 or 3 months, we are going to do weekly interviews with members of our Trinity community, and they are going to answer 10 questions. And so I have already a couple of interviews done. If you'd like to do one of these interviews, it's a great opportunity to get to know each other in a way that's kind of outside of church. You'll notice as we go through the questions that these are not really churchy questions. They're the ones that happen outside of church. So I thought I would go through today. This is a little introduction. Today I'm going to go through the questions and then answer them from my perspective, so that you can kind of get a feel for what kind of things we will be discussing. If you would like to join us for this little podcast project, Trinity Regathering, you can just email me, mandalavallee@gmail.com, and I will send you the questions. You just fill it out ahead of time, kind of just so I can see where you're going and time things out properly. And then we'll schedule a recording. We just do it on Zoom. And then the audio version will go out online and the video version will be on our website. So you'll be able to see the people who are talking or just hear them, depending on how you can choose to listen. So the 10 questions that we ask for the Trinity Regathering podcast is the first one: can you give a quick overview of your background? So I'm going to go through the questions all together and then I will answer them myself, like I said. Second question is, what brought you to Trinity? Third question, do you have any recent God sightings? 4, what do you do for work? 5, what kinds or what hobbies or passion projects do you do? What fills you up? 6 is, what kind of things do you do to help maintain your mental and physical health? 7, is there anything you would like to be better at? And this is very open. You can be as vulnerable as you'd like here. 8, do you have any favorite spiritual disciplines you'd like to share? Remember, this is stuff that's outside of church, so going to service on Sunday is not one of those. 9, what has changed for you in the past year? Is there anything you're grateful for? That can be COVID related or not. There are other things that have been going on in the world other than COVID. And 10 is, do you have a formative faith story that guides you during difficult times? And would you care to share it? So obviously, again, this is something that you could choose how vulnerable you want to be, but it is going to go online. So keep that in mind. Okay, so my answering these questions: can you give a quick overview of your background? As you know, right now, I am the Youth and Family Ministries Director at Trinity, but I wasn't always at Trinity. I grew up in Simsbury. My parents started coming to Trinity because a neighbor invited, actually. And then I grew up going to Sunday school and Emmaus and youth group and all of those things. And then college hit and I went to Gordon College, which is in Wenham, Massachusetts. And then when I came back, I was a nanny for a while. And then I worked at Starbucks and the YMCA. And then I got a job working for Lincare. I was the call center representative. Always be nice to your call center representatives. They have a hard job. And then I became a training coordinator, which basically meant I was in charge of making sure all the new people on our service got the appropriate mandated training. Because it was a medical devices service, we had to follow through with the government regulations. So that's what I was in charge of. And then in 2014, I started working at Trinity full time, and I've been there ever since. So second question was, what brought you to Trinity? I mentioned already my parents. I was 5 or 6, I think, when we started. So I've been there ever since. You can do the math. It's been a really long time. Do you have any recent God sightings? These are always great. My God sightings are usually nature-based. So like being outside, being in the yard, hearing all the birds, even though it's been blisteringly hot lately. I just love listening to all the birds being outside. And first thing in the morning, it's my favorite thing to do is to go sit outside with my coffee and the dog. And this morning we saw a bunny. The dog has decided he likes to chase those. So it was probably not a God sighting for the bunny, but it was for me. What do you do for work? I am the Youth and Family Ministries Director, as I mentioned. And so my job is to run all the kids' programs. I always say that I'm in charge of everyone from babies until they start having babies, and then I'm in charge of their kids. And so, also I run the website. Thanks to Carolyn. She has been doing Facebook for me because that is not my favorite mode of social media. But I do a lot of the social communications, the website. Sometimes Carol does the emails. Carolyn does Facebook stuff. So I generally try and stick with the website and doing a lot of the graphics for events. Although Carolyn does that too. She's very good at that. What else? What else do I do? I don't know. What hobbies or passion projects do you do? What fills you up? So for me, I have an 8-month-old giant Schnoodle puppy who is currently mowing through one of his bones. And so a lot of my passion projects is trying to get him trained right now. He will hopefully be a therapy dog. So I have to learn all about therapy dogs and how to train and all of that stuff. Also, I am getting a master's in theology. So I do a lot of reading right now. It's not always fun reading, and it's not always stuff that I understand, but I do a lot of reading. So what kinds of things do you do to help maintain mental or physical health? So I used to be a big runner. I used to love running, and then I broke my ankle like 10 or 15 years ago. And so ever since then, it's been a struggle to get back into it. But I keep trying for some reason. I think that's the definition of insanity. Maybe I should come up with something else. Is there anything you'd like to be better at? Definitely running. I'd also really like to learn how to dance. I think that would be fun. And I think it would be really fun to learn how to weld and to work on cars, because I'm quite certain my Jeep could be more efficient, but I don't know how to fix it. Do you have any favorite spiritual disciplines you'd like to share? If you know me at all, then you know that I am not very good at mornings. I have a really hard time waking up and getting moving, and it's been a struggle since like 7th grade. Like I've never been good at it. And so my favorite spiritual discipline is first thing in the morning. Oh, there's a little kitty right over there. The first thing in the morning. Come here, buddy. My kitty Starbucks. Right now, the dog is chasing him. My favorite spiritual discipline is to have quiet time. First thing in the morning. Like I said earlier, I drink my cup of coffee. Now I can go outside, although I don't stay outside for very long because it's pretty sweaty. I go outside, I have a nice cup of coffee, and it's just quiet. And I need that in order to be a fully functioning adult later on in the day. What has changed for you in the past year? Is there anything that I'm grateful for? I am an introvert, in case you don't know. And so the last year has not been as difficult for me as it has been for a lot of other people. I really got to do things that I haven't been able to in a long time. So last spring, I spent a lot of time working on the outside of the house, and it looks really cute. I picked up running again last spring, trying at least. What else did I do? There's a lot of things that I'm grateful for. It's been really calming, I think, for me to be home with my dog, and I cleaned up my bookshelf, you'll notice. Things have just been a lot simpler, I think. Not having to be running around and crazy all the time was really a stress relief for me. And the last question is, do I have a formative faith story that guides me during difficult times? This is a harder question for me because I think my formative faith story is just more of a connection to the church than a story. It's like a feeling more than an event. I don't have one particular story, but I feel like when I'm in the church building and I'm in the sanctuary, I just feel more at peace, more in touch with me and God, and just more connected. So that's when I'm having a hard time. I know that just going into the sanctuary is, unless it's night, but going into the sanctuary is a lot. It's a lot of comfort for me. There's a lot of history there. So that's it. That's if you decide to do the podcast with us, this is kind of how it's going to be. Usually there'll be two of us and we'll just talk back and forth. It's definitely, we go through the questions, but it's more of a conversation. So I would love to talk to you. I'd love to do this interview with you. And I hope you enjoy getting to know some of our Trinity members again, as Trinity regathers, both through the podcast and then also during our services and some of the other events we have going on. I'll talk to you soon.